Personally, I think, and I could be wrong, this is all speculation, my personal opinion is that I think Hey geeks and gamers, welcome to my channel. I'm Trey Guillotine and you're watching Enthusiastically Geeky, where we talk about some of the biggest current events in pop culture. Today, we are geeking out about the idea of a Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. But first, I have one question for you. What you gaming on? If you want to tell me what you're gaming on, let me know in the comments of this video or on any of my social media what game you're playing, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and your answer will be featured in an upcoming video. We're going to go ahead and jump into what I've been gaming on lately, and I am continuing my playthrough from Assassin's Creed Origins into Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I mentioned this last video that I was going back and replaying these games to play the DLCs that I missed when I first played it, and they weren't out yet. I finished Origins, and now I'm jumping into Odyssey, which I'm kind of worried about Odyssey, because Odyssey, as great of a game as it really is pretty much just Assassin's Creed Origins, just with a new Grecian coat of paint. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a great game. It's a strong game. If they're going to reuse things from Origins, they reused the right things. But I am kind of worried that Ubisoft is going to get into the same kind of problem they originally had with Assassin's Creed, where they were basically just re-releasing the same game over and over and over, just with a new coat of paint, kind of like I feel Call of Duty does, and a number of other like Battle Royale type games. It's pretty much just the same games with different titles and slightly different assets. But I'm going back through Assassin's Creed Odyssey, doing the DLC that I missed before, and it really is a good game. The rumors going around about Assassin's Creed and Ubisoft right now are that the next Assassin's Creed is going to be shown at E3 2019. And that the rumor is it's going to be a Viking Nordic assassin, which I think would be totally badass. Like, I am totally 100% down with that idea. It sounds really cool. This kind of rumor kind of started with The Division 2, where there is a picture that they kind of feel like is an Easter egg hinting to a Viking Assassin's Creed game. So that's kind of the idea that people are rolling with. Personally, what I would love to see in a new Assassin's Creed game is if they revisit either an assassin or a setting we've already been at. So, for example, if they wanted to revisit more adventures and stories of Edward Kenway when he was sailing around the Caribbean, like, I would love to revisit that time, but with the current Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey mechanics. I think that would be really cool. But one of the things that Odyssey does do differently than Assassin's Creed Origins is they've added the gameplay where you can kind of make decisions that will slightly change the story. They aren't huge decisions. It's not as effective as other games that do it, but you do get to make your decisions in the game, and sometimes things work out differently. And I've definitely been a fan of that type of game for a long time. I play as many BioWare games as I can, as many Telltale games as I can. The Witcher was another strong one from CD Projekt Red, where the decisions really affected what happened in the story. So I'm definitely a fan of that idea, but I think I'm getting to the point where I just don't know. I feel like I'm getting to the point where I'm just kind of over that idea. Like that was a great idea before, but now it's just kind of there to be there, and the decisions don't really affect things how you would want them. Like, for example, or rather, you're gonna get like decisions where it's like it's either one extreme or the other. For example, in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, in the very beginning of the game, you make the decision to either spare this family that could be potentially infected with the plague, and that if you save them, the plague will spread all across the island, or you could decide to let them be killed by the priests who are trying to eradicate the plague, who they've quote-unquote tried everything like sacrifice and praying, you know, because those, obviously that's the right way to go, but whatever, it's ancient Greece. Even if Hippocrates was out there with actual medical practices that probably could have done something, but whatever, it was ancient Greece. Or you could let the priest kill the family, their small children, everything. Like there wasn't really a good option. And while a lot of people are saying that's a great idea, that it really shows that, you know, the decisions aren't just good or bad. And I agree with that. The problem is that a lot of the times in Assassin's Creed Odyssey and many of the games that are, you know, choose your own adventure, make your own decision type games, they're two extremes. Like there's either the extreme good or the extreme bad, or like the extreme bad or the kind of good with some extremely bad consequences. Like, and I don't want that, you know, on the one hand, I want to say that, you know, that life isn't just black and white. Life isn't just one or the other. You know, I want a little more wiggle room in these decisions, but I also want, I'm fine not reinterpreting life in the video game. I don't know. I'm just kind of over it. Like, I wish that in these games there was a lot more wiggle room. There was a lot more areas of gray, which understandably they're not there yet. The actual video games aren't at that point that they can really do that. So it makes sense that it's not there. I wish it was. So that's what I've been gaming on, but now I want to know what you've been gaming on. So like I said, let me know in the comments of this video or on any of my social media what game you're playing, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and your answer will be featured in upcoming episodes. So now we are going to jump into today's topic, and we are talking about the idea of a Marvel Cinematic Multiverse after Endgame. So we've seen Endgame. Pretty much everyone has seen it at this point. If they haven't seen it, it's almost a sure thing that they've been spoiled by it. We are done with the Infinity Saga. That's what the last 10 years of the MCU has been, the Infinity Saga, and we finally reached the end of that saga. And we're now beginning into this new saga, and we don't fully know what that's going to entail, aside from just the announcement of what movies are coming out, or rather what movies we know are in production. We don't know exactly when those movies are going to come out, but we know things like Doctor Strange 2 and Black Panther 2 and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Like, these movies are slated in production coming out, but they're not, we don't know what they're going to cover or what their release date is. The only thing we know for sure is that we have some Disney Plus shows like Loki and Scarlet Witch and Vision coming out with Disney Plus, and that also Spider-Man Far From Home is coming out in July, and they waited until after Endgame to really give us a good look at a story trailer that tells us a little bit more what we can expect from that movie. Mysterio is obviously going to be a big part of it. Originally, he was assumed that he's going to be a bad guy, but in this trailer, it kind of seems like he's going to be a good guy, at least for a little bit. In the trailer that we saw, it showed Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, and he's going around, I think they're in Venice. They're going around, and he's fighting these giant, like, elemental monsters. Like, they look like fire and sand or dirt and water. He's fighting these giant monsters and working with Nick Fury. And when Nick Fury brings Spider-Man into the mix, Nick Fury tells him that Mysterio is not from our Earth. He's from another universe or a parallel universe, and that the snapping, because it was just such a massive thing that happened, you know, basically wiping out half of life in the universe, then redoing half-life in the universe, and getting rid of all of Thanos' giant armies. Like, it was a big deal, and the result of that is that there was a tear in the universe, and Mysterio apparently has come from his universe into ours. So already from the get-go, we are talking about the idea of there being a Marvel multiverse. Now, I know the multiverse is actually a thing in the comics. There's like Earth 616, which is the main Marvel universe, but then there's all these other different multiverses. We kind of explored that with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse with Miles Morales and the other 5 or 6 other Spider-Man characters that were joining him, and the different universes and how they worked, which I thought was a fantastic film. But it is something that we've already touched on, not in regards to the MCU, but just in general. It's definitely something that's come up in the last year. So now that we're apparently bringing that up in this saga, I'm kind of thinking that this saga might be where the first one was the Infinity Saga. This might be the Multiverse Saga. This might be something that could bring a lot of different characters into it, especially ones they just got the rights to, like X-Men, like Fantastic Four. They could even bring in Miles Morales and other Spider-Man characters into the actual MCU, and it would be an easy thing because multiverse. But in the trailer, I have to admit that I don't totally buy it. I definitely think multiverse is going to be a thing, but I'm not sure I entirely buy the idea that Mysterio is from an alternate universe and that he's here. He, came through a rip in the universe and now he's doing all this stuff to save the day. Personally, I think, and I could be wrong, this is all speculation, my personal opinion is that I think Mysterio is lying. I think he's from our universe, he's from our Earth, and that he has found either some, like Vulture, he found some Stark tech, or he found some alien tech. Maybe at the end of Endgame, he found some of Thanos' tech that didn't get destroyed, or he found some other kind of powers or technology that is letting him create all of these giant monsters that he seems to be fighting simply so he can raid these monsters and then swoop in and save the day, become famous, become a superhero because he wants the attention or whatever motivation he would have for that. That's kind of what I'm thinking is going to be the story with Mysterio. But for the sake of the argument, let's assume that the trailer is correct, which I don't think it is. The trailer is correct, and we are to believe that Mysterio is officially from another universe. This wouldn't be the first time that we actually played around with that idea. So in Thor Dark World, I know, not one of our favorite MCU movies, but in Thor Dark World, when Dr. Eric Selvig was pretty much going insane and was in the mental hospital, he had this whiteboard behind him and he was kind of explaining what it looked like. It looked like he was explaining the multiverse theory. He even had 616 circled in the center and then had all these branching other things going on to it. So already, even if it was just a slight funny Easter egg thing, we've already touched on the idea of a multiverse. But more often than not, we've seen more dimensions than we have seen the multiverse. We've seen multiple dimensions with Doctor Strange. We've seen multiple dimensions in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Ghost Rider and the LMGs. The multiverse theory, even though it's been touched on, is definitely a bigger idea than what we've seen before. Now, they did talk a little bit about the multiverse theory in Endgame whenever Banner and the Ancient One are talking about removing the different Infinity Stones from time, that it would cause a multiverse to kind of branch out into a timeline where that Infinity Stone wasn't there. And that's why they had the big deal of going back and putting the stones right back where they were, right back where they took them from, to kind of make sure that they didn't cause more damage with multiverses. But it looks like that damage with the multiverse is happening. And another element that I actually realized this recently, another element that would actually support the idea of a multiverse theory and a multiverse being a big part of the MCU going forward, is, surprisingly enough, the season premiere, the 2 hours, I don't know if it was 2 hours or just 2 episodes back to back, but the season premiere of the newest season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I thought Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was getting canceled after this season. I've heard now that it's not. I've heard conflicting reports. That doesn't actually matter. What they've touched on, and not to give any spoilers, what they've touched on so far is the idea of people going back and forth between our universe, or one multiverse and another multiverse. So already with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. releasing already into right after Endgame, and Spider-Man already bringing up the idea of a multiverse, I think that's going to be a big focus in this saga. Even if it's not the multiverse saga, I think multiverse is going to play a big role, whether Mysterio is lying or not. The other thing that I realized, and bear with me on this, if the multiverse theory is something that we're going to be dealing with right now with Marvel, a multiverse, then it's possible that they're going to make the decision that we've already seen different multiverses within the MCU. There's obviously the MCU movies, which are their own continuous thing, and then there's the MCU TV shows. Now, it is a fact that the original plan for these TV shows was that there were going to be connected. Hashtag it's all connected. That was the original plan. But things happened on the production side that was no longer really the case. That even if they are in the same universe, they're not at all connected to each other. They're not going to go from one to the other. And there might be some Easter eggs, like having Bridget from Cloak and Dagger be named in Luke Cage season 2. Like, there might be little things connected to them, but overall they're not going to really connect. And it's entirely possible that they can now say that all of these different TV shows could be their own multiverse. Another clue that kind of supports this is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this season takes place a year after the events that happened in the last season with Graviton and Coulson dying for like the second or third time. But within that year, there's no mention of Thanos. They mentioned him in the end of last season. They mentioned Thanos and what was going on in New York whenever Thanos' guys went and fought Iron Man and Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. But there's been no mention so far in this season of Thanos, of Infinity War, of Endgame, of the snapping. Nothing. Nothing has been mentioned, and it takes place a year after all of that happens, and there's nothing there. There's nothing that they're talking about. Now, it could just be it did happen and there wasn't really a big effect of it. I don't know. But I have the feeling that at some point we are going to find out this season in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that this show is its own universe, and that where Coulson died in Avengers, two multiverses split. The multiverse of the MCU Avengers films and all the different movies would be one universe where Coulson didn't come back to life, and then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. would be another. So I think it's entirely possible that they may add that. That might be something that say, hey, this is what's really been happening. Was it the plan originally? Absolutely not. But it's what they're doing now. Similarly to how Disney is making this new Star Wars saga and all these Star Wars stories, but basically going back and saying all of the extended universe of Star Wars, all of the books and the comics and all of that other stuff is not canon, it's legends. So therefore, the TV shows, at least the ones that are already out now, not the ones from Disney Plus, will simply be Marvel Legends. What that will ultimately mean for the TV shows, if they're just going to cancel all of their TV shows that are out now and just stick to Disney Plus, I don't know. I haven't heard any news that Runaways or Cloak and Dagger was threatened to be canceled. Disney does actually now own a controlling interest in Hulu, so it's very possible all of those stuff that wouldn't be age appropriate for Disney Plus would go onto Hulu. They may bring the Defenders back that way. There's a lot of possibilities, but nothing has been said for sure yet. But I do think that I wouldn't be surprised if they come back and say, yes, all of these TV shows, The Defenders and Runaways and Cloak and Dagger and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., all of these are their own separate multiverse, and then the Avengers and all the movies are Multiverse Earth 616. But now I want to hear from you. What do you think about the idea of a multiverse in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Let me know in the comments and follow me on all the internets. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it around so others can join the conversation. If you want to check out any of my written reviews of Marvel movies and video games, go to www.treyguillotine.blogspot.com. And remember, if you want your answer featured in an upcoming What You Gaming On segment, let me know the game you're playing, what you like about it, and what you don't like about it, and I will include it in an upcoming video. And subscribe to my channel to geek out some more. Thanks for watching. Have fun.